People always think heartbreak comes in loud, cinematic ways with screaming matches, shattered glass, or doors slammed so hard the walls shake. But mine started with laughter, the kind that slipped from my lips like poison, because I never thought I'd fall for her. It was supposed to be a joke. A stupid drunken bet on a Friday night in the heart of a small American college town. Yet here I am, sitting across from her in the library, watching the way her fingers trace the edge of her notebook, my chest tightening every time she tucks her hair behind her ear. God, if my friends knew how far this game had gone, they'd never let me live it down. Her name is Emily Carter. She's the kind of girl who doesn't even know she's beautiful, which makes her all the more dangerous. Honey blonde hair that shines under the campus lights, freckles that appear in the summer sun, and a laugh that feels like the world softening around me. I was dared to make her fall for me. They said she was too sweet, too guarded, too careful. They thought I couldn't do it. And I thought it would be easy. But what no one told me is that falling for her would feel like falling off a cliff you didn't see coming. 1 second you're standing on solid ground, and the next you're plummeting, unable to stop, terrified and exhilarated all at once. The first time we really talked was on a chilly October morning. The air smelled like roasted coffee and damp leaves. I spotted her sitting alone on the steps of the Student Union building, scribbling in a journal. I had rehearsed a dozen lines, clever, flirty, even a little cruel. But when she looked up at me, her blue eyes catching mine, all I could manage was, "You look cold." She laughed, surprised, and I swear it knocked the air out of me. From then on, it was like gravity. I kept finding excuses to see her, study groups I didn't need, late-night walks across campus, coffee runs where I'd accidentally bump into her. And with every moment, every stolen glance, every unguarded smile, the bet slipped further from my mind. It wasn't about proving a point anymore. It was about her. But the guilt never left. It clung to me like a shadow, reminding me that this started as a game, a performance, a cruel joke at her expense. Every time her hand brushed mine, every time she trusted me with a secret, I felt like a thief stealing something precious I didn't deserve. And the worst part? I didn't want to stop. She told me once while we were sitting on the rooftop of her dorm that she never really fit in here. That sometimes she felt invisible in a world that moved too fast, too loud. I wanted to tell her that she was the brightest thing I'd ever seen, that she made my entire world slow down. But instead I just sat there, my throat tight, watching the city lights flicker like fireflies below us. That night, when she leaned her head on my shoulder, I felt like I was holding the whole universe in my arms. The story should have ended there, sweet, simple, the kind of college romance that belongs in a paperback novel. But life doesn't work like that. Because secrets have a way of crawling out, and bets have a way of biting back. And mine was waiting for the perfect moment to destroy everything. The trouble with falling in love during college is that it sneaks up on you in the quietest ways, between deadlines, caffeine highs, and parties you don't even want to be at. You don't notice it happening until one day you look across the room and realize the person who used to be a stranger is now the center of your gravity. That's what Emily became to me. I told myself it was still the bet. That every coffee we shared, every walk through the autumn leaves, every late-night conversation was just another step closer to winning. But deep down I knew I wasn't keeping score anymore. It was her laugh that undid me first. The way it bubbled out of her, unguarded, like she didn't care who was listening. Then it was her stubborn streak, the way she'd argue over the smallest things, like whether pineapple belonged on pizza or if winter was better than summer. She made the ordinary feel electric, as if life had been black and white until she stepped into it. But with every spark the guilt burned hotter. Because I knew something she didn't. That our story had started with cruelty, not chance. One Friday night, a week after that rooftop moment, I found myself at another house party. Music pounded through the walls, the air thick with smoke and cheap beer. My friends, the same ones who'd pushed me into this bet, were sprawled across couches, laughing, shouting, living recklessly in a way I envied and resented at the same time. "So," Jake smirked as soon as he saw me, "how's our little project going?" I froze, beer bottle halfway to my lips. "What project?" He rolled his eyes. "Don't play dumb. Carter. Sweet little Emily Carter. Don't tell me you're actually catching feelings. You're supposed to be making her fall for you, not the other way around." The room erupted in laughter. My stomach twisted. I forced a grin, the kind that felt like broken glass in my mouth. Relax. She's practically already there. The lie tasted bitter, but it was easier than the truth. Easier than admitting that every second with Emily pulled me further from who I thought I was. Later that night, stumbling back to my dorm, I checked my phone. A message from her lit up the screen. Hey, are you okay? You left the library so fast earlier. I wanted to ask you about that poem you wrote. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the words until the letters blurred. She cared. She noticed when I disappeared. She thought I was a poet, not a fraud. I typed back with shaking fingers. Yeah, I'm fine. Just tired. Can I call you? Seconds later, her voice filled my ears, soft and warm, like a balm against everything I hated about myself. We talked until sunrise about nothing and everything. Childhood dreams, favorite movies, the scars we carried that no one else saw. And I remember thinking, if this is a game, then I never want it to end. The weeks slipped by, colored by stolen moments that felt like they belonged to someone else's life. Study sessions that dissolved into laughter. Walks across campus where our hands brushed but never quite held. Movie nights in her dorm, the glow of the screen painting her face in shades of gold and shadow. But the closer I got to her, the heavier the secret became. It sat between us like a landmine, silent but deadly. One wrong step and everything would explode. One night in November, she invited me to her family's house for Thanksgiving break. You don't have to say yes, she rushed, cheeks pink, fingers twisting in her lap. I just thought, you said you didn't want to go back home, and my mom loves having guests. It's just a small thing, nothing fancy. I should have said no. I should have kept my distance, protected her from the storm I'd created. But instead I heard myself say, I'd love to. And that was how I ended up in a cozy suburban home in upstate New York, surrounded by the smell of pumpkin pie and the hum of holiday music. Her mom hugged me like I belonged there. Her little brother teased us mercilessly, asking if we were a thing, making Emily blush and laugh in a way that made my chest ache. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, we sat on the back porch wrapped in blankets, watching our breath turn to mist in the cold air. I'm glad you came, she said softly, her head resting against my shoulder. It feels easier with you here. Like I don't have to pretend. My heart clenched. Pretend what? She hesitated, biting her lip. That I'm okay all the time. That I don't feel different. I don't know how to explain it. Like there's this version of me everyone expects, and then there's the real me, and I'm scared no one would accept her. I turned to face her, the porch light catching in her eyes. I'd accept her, I whispered. No matter what. For a moment the world went still. And then slowly she leaned in. Her lips brushed mine like a question, hesitant, trembling, waiting for an answer. And when I kissed her back, it felt like the universe finally exhaled. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't chaos. It was gentle, steady, like finding home after being lost for years. When we pulled apart, she smiled through tears. I've never told anyone. Not really. But I think I like girls. I think I like you. And I should have been overjoyed. I should have felt nothing but warmth and relief. But instead, guilt crashed over me like a tidal wave. Because she didn't know. She didn't know that her first love started as a cruel dare whispered in the dark of a frat house. She didn't know that every kiss, every laugh, every promise was built on a lie. And if she ever found out, it would break her. The drive back to campus after the break was quiet. Emily hummed along to the radio, her hand resting dangerously close to mine on the center console. I wanted to reach out, to intertwine my fingers with hers, but I couldn't. Not with the truth gnawing at me from the inside. Back at school, things only got more complicated. She wanted to spend more time together, wanted to hold my hand in public, wanted to step into this new version of herself without fear. But I was still chained to the bed. Still haunted by the laughter of my so-called friends. The breaking point came one night in December at another party. I hadn't planned to go, but Jake wouldn't stop texting me, insisting I show up. When I walked in, the air was thick with booze and sweat, music rattling the floorboards. And then I heard it. Man, can you believe she actually pulled it off? Someone said, voice slurred with alcohol. Emily freaking Carter. Sweetest girl on campus. Hooked like a fish. Laughter followed, loud and cruel. My blood ran cold. I turned the corner and saw them, Jake and a couple of others grinning like hyenas, passing around a beer can like it was a trophy. That bet was the best idea we ever had, Jake smirked. She's practically in love with her now. Unbelievable. My stomach twisted, bile rising in my throat. Emily. If she heard this, if she found out, like Tess, it would destroy her. I stormed out before they could see me, my chest on fire. When I got back to my dorm, my phone buzzed with a message. Emily. Can you come over? I can't sleep. I stared at the screen, torn in two. If I went, I'd see the girl who trusted me more than anyone. The girl who had just given me her heart. And I'd have to lie again, pretend I wasn't the villain in her story. But if I stayed away, I'd lose her anyway. So I went. When she opened the door, her face lit up, relief flooding her eyes. She pulled me inside, wrapping me in a hug that made my knees weak. I had a nightmare, she whispered against my neck. That you weren't real. That this wasn't real. I held her tighter, swallowing the lump in my throat. I'm real, I said, even though the words tasted like ash. As I was real. My feelings were real. But the way it started, that was the lie that threatened to ruin everything. And that was how the first act of our story ended, with love tangled in lies, passion shadowed by guilt, and a secret waiting to shatter the fragile happiness we had built. Because in America, in that little college town where the leaves burned red and gold, two girls fell in love. But only one of them knew the truth. The strange thing about guilt is how it eats away at even the most perfect moments. Emily and I had fallen into a rhythm after Thanksgiving, a rhythm that should have felt like bliss. We walked hand in hand across snowy sidewalks, huddled under scarves and coats. We whispered secrets under strings of Christmas lights that turned the campus into something out of a postcard. To everyone else, we looked like two girls hopelessly in love. And we were. At least she was. I was too, but my love was poisoned. It had been from the start. The week before winter break, she surprised me with tickets to a holiday concert in the city. I should have been ecstatic. Instead, panic surged through me, because I knew that the deeper we sank into this relationship, the more catastrophic the truth would be when it finally surfaced. The truth always surfaces. The night of the concert was beautiful in a way that made my chest ache. Snow dusted the sidewalks, streetlights glowed soft and golden, and Emily's laughter echoed against the cold air as she pulled me along by the hand. She looked like everything I never knew I needed: hair tucked into a wool hat, cheeks flushed pink, eyes sparkling with a kind of joy that made me feel both alive and unworthy. Inside the concert hall, we sat shoulder to shoulder, the music swelling around us. At one point, Emily leaned in and whispered, "I've never felt this happy before." I froze because I wanted to say me too, but what came out was silence. She didn't notice. Or maybe she didn't want to. A few days later, it all began to unravel. It was a Wednesday night, finals week, the campus library buzzing with exhausted students. Emily sat across from me, her laptop open, her face illuminated by the screen. She looked tired but beautiful, hair pulled into a messy bun, a pencil tucked behind her ear. "You're distracted," she said suddenly, looking up at me. I blinked. "What?" "You've been staring at the same page for 10 minutes. What's going on with you?" I forced a smile, tried to pass it off. "Just tired. Finals, you know." But her eyes saw too much. "That's not it. You've been different since we got back from break." Did I do something? The question sliced through me. She thought it was her fault. Sweet, selfless Emily, always ready to shoulder the blame. "No," I whispered. "You didn't do anything wrong." She reached across the table, fingers brushing mine. "Then what is it? Talk to me." I wanted to tell her everything. The words trembled at the edge of my tongue. There was a bet. Started as a joke. But then you happened. And now I don't know how to live without you. But before I could speak, someone behind us laughed. Loud, cruel, familiar. Jake. He was standing a few tables over with his pack of friends, grinning like the devil himself. And then I heard him, too loud, too deliberate. "Man, I still can't believe she fell for it. Who knew Emily Carter would be that easy?" The blood drained from my face. Emily froze. Slowly, she turned to look at them. Confusion knitted her brows. Then hurt flickered across her features as the pieces began to click together. She turned back to me. "What is he talking about?" My throat closed. Her voice rose, sharp with fear. "Tell me he's lying." Every second of silence was a blade twisting deeper. My chest ached, my hands shook, my mouth opened but no sound came out. "Tell me," she demanded, tears pooling in her eyes. "Please tell me it isn't true." I should have lied. I should have said anything to protect her, to protect us. But all I could do was whisper the one word that shattered everything. "Yes." Her chair scraped back as she stood, trembling. Her eyes burned into me wide and broken, like I just pulled the ground out from under her. You used me." Her voice cracked, raw with betrayal. "Was this all just some joke to you? Every kiss, every moment, was it all fake?" "No," I choked out, desperate. "It started as a bet, but then it wasn't. Emily, I swear to you, I love you." She flinched like the word itself was poison. Don't you dare say that to me." Heads were turning. Students were watching. But all I could see was her shaking hands, her tear-streaked cheeks, her heartbreak spilling into the open. "You made me believe," she whispered, voice breaking. "You made me believe I was enough. And it was all a lie." Before I could reach for her, before I could explain, she was gone. The days that followed blurred together in a haze of regret. She stopped answering my calls, stopped replying to my texts. When I saw her across campus, she looked through me like I didn't exist. It was torture, worse than any punishment I could have imagined. I thought I could live with the guilt. I thought love would be enough to rewrite how it started. But I was wrong. The past was a weight I couldn't shake, and it had dragged us both under. The night before winter break, I found myself standing outside her dorm, snowflakes clinging to my coat, my heart pounding like it was trying to escape. I knew I shouldn't be there. I knew she didn't want to see me, but I couldn't leave without trying. I knocked. For a long time, nothing. Then the door opened and there she was, red, face pale, like she hadn't slept in days. "What do you want?" she asked, voice flat. I need you to know," I stammered. "I need you to hear it from me, not from them." She crossed her arms, shivering even though the hallway was warm. "You already told me enough. Please," I begged. "Yes, it started as a bet. I was stupid, reckless, and I hate myself for it. But somewhere along the way it stopped being a game. You stopped being a bet. Emily, you became everything." Her jaw tightened. "Do you have any idea what you did to me? I trusted you. I let you in. I told you things I've never told anyone. And the whole time you were laughing at me." "I wasn't," I said fiercely. "God, I wasn't. The second I met you, it stopped being funny. I fell for you, Emily. I fell so hard I don't know how to breathe without you." Her eyes glistened, but her voice was sharp. "Do you know what it feels like to wonder if every touch, every kiss, every word was just part of some performance?" I swallowed hard. "Then let me prove to you it wasn't." "You can't," she said, voice breaking. "Because no matter what you do, I'll always remember how it started. I'll always wonder if I was just a prize to you." The silence that followed was unbearable. Snow drifted in from the open door, melting at our feet. Finally, she whispered, "I think you should go." And that was it. The door closed. I stood there in the snow, shaking, broken, listening to the sound of my own heart shattering into pieces too small to ever put back together. Winter break was hell. I went home to a family who didn't notice how hollow I'd become, who didn't ask why I couldn't eat or sleep. My friends, if you could even call them that, kept joking about the bet, slapping me on the back like I'd won some great victory. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them they'd ruined me, that I didn't care about their stupid game anymore. But the truth was I'd ruined myself. Because I'd lost Emily. And the worst part? I deserved it. When the spring semester began, I told myself I'd stay away. I told myself it was better for her if I disappeared, if I gave her the space she needed to heal. But fate has a cruel sense of humor. The first day back, I walked into the campus cafe. And there she was sitting by the window, a cup of coffee cradled in her hands. She looked different. Stronger somehow, but also sadder, like she'd built walls I could never climb. Our eyes met. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she looked away, her jaw tightening, her shoulders stiff. And I knew. She wasn't ready to forgive me. Maybe she never would be. But love is stubborn. It doesn't care about logic or timing or how badly you've messed up. It digs its claws into your heart and refuses to let go. And I wasn't ready to let go of her. Not yet. Not ever. The weeks after that first run-in at the cafe were the hardest. Emily and I moved in the same orbit, but she treated me like a ghost. I'd see her across lecture halls, her blonde hair catching the sunlight through the windows, and every time my chest ached with everything unsaid. I tried to give her space, but love doesn't always respect boundaries. It lingered in the songs I played at night, in the scribbles across my notebook margins, in the way my steps slowed whenever I passed her dorm. Still, I didn't chase her. Not yet. Because the truth is, I hadn't earned the right to fight for her. Not until I proved I could change. One afternoon in March, I walked past the library and saw her sitting on the steps, just like the very first time. She was scribbling in a notebook, hair loose around her shoulders, and for a second it felt like déjà vu. Except this time I didn't approach. I just watched from a distance, heart pounding, until she looked up and caught me. Our eyes locked. Her expression shifted, first surprise, then something softer, something uncertain. But before I could move, she stood and walked away. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, knowing I couldn't keep living like this. If I wanted her back, really back, I had to do more than just say I loved her. I had to show her. The opportunity came a week later. A professor announced an open mic poetry night on campus, encouraging students to share their work. Normally I would have laughed at the idea, but Emily loved poetry. She always said words had the power to stitch people back together. So I signed up. The night of the event, my hand shook as I gripped the microphone. The room was full, students, faculty, strangers, and Emily sitting in the back row, her arms crossed, her face unreadable. I cleared my throat. This isn't really a poem, I began, voice trembling. It's more of a confession. To someone who deserves the truth. The crowd went still. I took a deep breath. When we met, it was because of a bet. I thought it was a joke that I could make someone fall for me and walk away untouched. But then she laughed. And her laugh ruined me. Because it was real. Because she was real. And suddenly the bet didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was her. I hurt her. I broke her trust. And I don't know if she can ever forgive me. But if she's listening, I need her to know nothing about what I feel for her is a lie. Every smile, every word, every kiss was the truest thing I've ever known. My voice cracked. I love you, Emily Carter. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving it if you let me. The room erupted in applause, but I barely heard it. My eyes stayed on her. She didn't clap. She didn't smile. She just sat there, frozen, tears glistening on her cheeks. And then she stood up and left. I thought that was it. That I'd lost her forever. But 2 nights later there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Emily, her hair damp from the rain, her notebook clutched to her chest. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice trembling. I stepped aside, heart racing, and she walked in. For a moment neither of us spoke. The air between us was thick with everything we hadn't said. Finally she whispered, "Why did you do it?" "The bet." "Why me?" I swallowed hard. "Because they thought you were untouchable. That no one could get close to you. And I was stupid enough to think I could prove them wrong." Her eyes filled with hurt. "And when did it stop being a game?" "The first time you laughed," I said softly. "The first time you looked at me like I wasn't just some mask I wore for everyone else. You saw me. And I didn't know what to do with that." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Do you have any idea how much you hurt me?" "Yes," I whispered. "And I'll never forgive myself for it. But if you give me a chance, I'll spend every day trying to make it right." She looked at me for a long, aching moment. Then she opened her notebook and handed it to me. On the page was a poem, written in her careful handwriting. "You were a storm I didn't see coming, a fire I didn't know I'd survive. You broke me. But in the ashes I found pieces of myself still alive." I looked up, tears blurring my vision. "It's about you," she said. "About us. I hate what you did. I hate that it started as a lie. But I can't hate what we became. Because it was real for me too. Emily." My voice cracked. She stepped closer, her hand trembling as she reached for mine. "I'm scared. I don't know if I can trust you again. But I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you." I closed my fingers around hers, holding on like she was the only thing keeping me upright. "Then don't. Please. Don't lose me." For a heartbeat, silence stretched between us. Then she whispered, "One chance. That's all you get." And when her lips met mine, it felt like forgiveness, fragile but fierce, like sunlight breaking through a storm. The weeks that followed weren't perfect. We fought. We cried. There were nights when she pulled away, walls slamming back into place, and I had to fight to earn back her trust. But there were also moments of joy, quiet mornings with coffee and laughter, late-night walks where our hands finally twined without hesitation, stolen kisses under the spring blossoms. It wasn't easy. Love never is. But it was real. And that was enough. By the time summer came, Emily and I were inseparable again. Our friends whispered, gossiped, speculated, but we didn't care. We knew what we had survived. We knew what we had built out of ashes. One night in June, we sat on the rooftop of her apartment, watching fireworks explode across the sky. She leaned against me, her head on my shoulder, her hand warm in mine. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked quietly. "How it started?" I thought about it, about the pain, the lies, the heartbreak. And then I looked at her, really looked at her, with her golden hair glowing in the firework light, her eyes soft and steady on mine. "No," I said, "because it brought me to you. And I'd go through all of it again if it meant ending up here." She smiled, a small, broken, beautiful smile, and kissed me. And in that moment I knew. Love isn't about how it starts. It's about how it survives. And ours had survived everything. Years later, when people asked how we met, Emily would laugh and say, "It's complicated." And I'd smile, squeezing her hand, because they didn't need to know the messy parts. All they needed to know was that once, in a small American college town, two girls found each other in the unlikeliest of ways. And what started as a bet turned into a love that neither of us could ever hide again. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.